Good morning, RMS. I'm your host, Zoe Moorhead.
And I'm AJ Prada.
Tomorrow is the last day to bring in box tops for the contest. Don't forget to add your name to the back of each to be entered into the Target gift card drawing.
Your books are still on sale, but there's only a limited supply. Make sure to go to jostens.com and search RMS, or go to the RMS website and make sure to get your copy while supplies last.
Today in advisory, we will be continuing our all-school read, Ice Dogs, chapters 16 and 17.
That's all for today's show.
Bye!
Turn off the lights and I glow to the extreme. I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up the stage and wax a chump like a candle. Dance, crush the speaker that moves. Alright, good job, boys. We were doing good out there.
Chapter 16. It doesn't take us long to find Chris. Even from a distance, I see his face is flushed from jogging. He stops when he sees us and collapses on his knees, hanging his head in his hands. The dogs sprint forward with obvious joy, as if they've been looking everywhere for him, and now he's finally found. As we get closer, Chris stands and yells, "Is everyone okay? Are you hurt?" I stop the team and stomp on the hook as Chris jogs to greet us. His gaze bounces from my face to Bean in the sled, then back to me. His forehead creases in concern. He moves as if he's going to hug me, but I dodge away. Is Bean hurt? Genius, he's in the sled. What do you think? Oh man, that was crazy. They just ran off. Like, don't they come when they're called? The dogs don't know stop. They only know go. My voice is carefully neutral. I told you. Yeah, I know. You don't know how. My anger erupts like foam climbing up the neck of a soda bottle. I yell in his face, "You don't know how to do anything!" Chris gives me an incredulous stare. Then his face hardens. I never said I knew anything about dog sledding. If you know everything, why weren't you driving the team? He flings his arm, gesturing toward the dogs. I'm so sick of your superior attitude. Why are you so angry all the time? And bossy. Don't you get tired of being mean? His words gut punch me. Maybe you're too busy dreaming about shopping malls to notice that we're lost out here thanks to you. I told you I'm sorry about the map, but this is not all my fault. You know, sometimes stuff just happens that you can't control. And I don't know how I'm going to feed the dogs, and now Bean is hurt. My voice breaks, betraying me, and I turn my face away. In the sudden silence, my stomach gurgles. I find a water bottle and take a long swig. Chris kicks at the snow. He rubs his face with his hands, and after a slight pause, says in a lower tone, "So you're yelling at me about being from the city, but what you're really mad at is that we don't have anything to eat, right? I'm worried about that too, you know. You might feel better if you tell me what you're really worried about instead of keeping it all to yourself." He pauses again and looks at me hopefully. "Maybe we could fish for food. We keep seeing that river beside the trail. Maybe there's fish in it. Dogs eat fish, don't they?" I see in his face all of my own worry and fear mirrored back to me. He's trying hard to help. I know it's not all his fault. "We don't have any fish hooks or line," I say. Well, we'll think of something." He almost looks shy as he searches my face. "And there's lots I know how to do, Secret. Like, I'm a fast swimmer. I used to be on the swim team. Won some medals, too." That's not very helpful at the moment. But I imagine being able to stay afloat, propel myself where I want to go, and I'm sort of envious. "Right, can't impress you. Well, I can't fix a sled, but I can fix your computer." Again, not very helpful, and I don't have a computer. "You don't what?" "Well, my mom has one for work, but it doesn't have anything else on it. When would I have time to play on a computer? I told you, I'm a musher. I win races. My dogs and I win races. But everyone has a computer. He stares at me as if I've suddenly developed a unibrow. Well, I don't. I hold the water bottle up to him as a peace offering. Anyway, we should keep going. I'm sure we'll see a road soon. Bean needs to get to a vet, and the longer we stay out here with no food, the more danger we're in of becoming hypothermic. I don't mention the fact that now we're both wet from all the running and sweating. My inner clothes stick to my skin, a recipe for disaster out here that is so ingrained in me that I can't ignore the icy dread lodged in my gut. Chris takes a sip of water and then points the bottle down the trail. Our supper just went that way. Maybe if I whittle you a spear, you can throw that instead. I saw it in a movie once, I think. I pretend I'm not listening to him as I pull off my anorak and shake out the snow. Or we could use this thing. Chris waves Mr. Minky toward me, then makes stabbing motions with it. Dig a pit, fill it with sharp sticks, and the moose will fall in and impale himself. I know I've seen that in a movie. Except it was a dude who fell, messed up his leg. I glanced at the dogs. They roll on the trail and snort. The fight is forgotten and they're all friends again. When I bend over Bean to check his wounds, I see the puncture is still bleeding. Gently, I take the snow out of the gauze on his shoulder. Yikes, what happened to him? I think he got kicked by the moose, or his leg's been pulled. He's got ligament or tendon damage. I don't know, but it's swelling, so it needs to be iced in short sessions like this for a full day. I'm not going to fail Bean. Stay here on the brake. I emphasize my words by making a show of holding the handlebar and standing solid on the brake. Please. Chris rolls his eyes at me and takes my place on the brake. I walk back along the trail and collect myself. I look for my snowshoes and hat, not really expecting to see them. The snowshoes aren't that big a deal, but I need my hat. I scan over the moose tracks and almost smile, remembering my warrior woman move with the snowshoe. But then I think of Bean and my brow furrows. He needs a vet and rest. He can't be allowed to run with that injury, and that means not having him in lead. I realize how much I've always depended on his intelligence, and now that we know there's a moose somewhere up ahead, we'll have to be extra careful. When I hook the dogs back up, I put Drift up front with Blue and move Gazoo into wheel beside Dorset. Not every dog can lead. Some won't even run at all if they have dogs behind them. Too much pressure. Drift is my best option right now without Bean. I hop on beside Chris and call to the dogs. Ready? All right. We continue on, heading directly into the sun that's sinking fast behind the trees over the next ridge. My belly rumbles. A shiver runs down my back from the dampness of my sweat-soaked shirt. I glance down at Bean, curled up in the bag. All our lives depend on what's ahead. Chapter 17. Dusk comes with the same swiftness as the previous night. I keep listening for sounds of traffic or snowmobiles, anything to give a hint of where we are. But there's nothing except the panting of dogs, the shushing of the runners sliding in the snow, and the light tinkling of the dogs' neckline clips. Even as I wish for a road, my jaw tightens with the knowledge we're going to have to spend another night out here. What am I going to feed the dogs tonight? What comes after that, I no longer allow myself to think about. Perhaps we should have stayed back at our base camp. We could have tried to make a trap or fish hooks. I could maybe make a fish hook using the small forked branches on a tree. Maybe Chris's idea of a spear wasn't far off. I shake my head. Then we wouldn't have found that wolf kill. We desperately needed those scraps of moose meat. But now I don't think we'll be as lucky tonight. I shiver again and adjust Dorset's dog coat around my head. It may look ridiculous, but without my hat, my ears and head were going to freeze. I had to improvise. The coat isn't really working, with a big open hole at the top, but at least it's blocking the wind from going down my neck. We're in serious trouble now. I can feel the onset of hypothermia like a snake slithering down my back. I busy myself studying the dogs. Drift is an easily distracted leader, but thankfully Blue is keeping her straight. Everyone seems to be pulling, ears forward, tails straight, tug lines tight, except for Whistler. Why is she limping? When I stop the team, they all dive into the snow. I leave the sled to Chris and walk down the line of dogs. Whistler snuffles in my ear as I bend over her. I inspect each foot separately, spreading apart the toes with my bare fingers. She has always had tender feet. Her fur seems to collect more snowballs than any of the other dogs'. I check her right front paw and see irritated red skin on the webbing between two toes. Oh no. With my fingers, I try to break apart the ice chunks stuck to her fur. The center ball is too tough to break, so I use my teeth. She licks my hand. Whistler, I'm sorry, girl. What's wrong? Chris asks. I trudge toward the sled and search for the bag of dog booties. Whistler is getting a rub on her foot. It's from this grainy snow. If I don't booty her, she'll get a blister. I tear through the gear in the sled, and Bean watches with interest. Have you seen a blue bag full of fleece booties in here? No. I thought I'd brought the bag. Did I bring the bag? I can't remember. You didn't dump it when you were looking for the tape? I ask. I didn't dump anything. Would you give me a break? Well, it's not in here. Great. What am I going to do without booties? I hear my voice quaver, and I take a breath. Do not cry over missing booties. The extra stress adds to my list of worries and knots the narrow space between my eyes. Can you use, like, a mitt or something? Chris has been learning about dog sledding so fast, I forgot how much he still doesn't know. No. My shame at forgetting the booties tastes like bile in my mouth. And besides, she'll need 4 booties. All her feet are going to look like this soon. Okay. Chris's reasonable tone irks me even more. Well, we should be close to home now, right? We'll probably get there before she needs 4 booties. I think Chris understands full well that we're probably not close to home. There is a big empty space of what we're not saying, and it hangs over us like a vulture. I sort through what's left in the first aid kit and find Vaseline. Dipping a finger into the cold goo, I coat the fur between her toes to stop the snow from sticking. I think of the special Musher's Magic Foot Ointment that's also in the booty bag. But I can't fix the fact that I didn't bring it, so I double-check her other paws to make sure they're free of ice balls, then coat them with the Vaseline too. My bare fingers quickly grow stiff with cold. I have to keep tucking them into my armpits. The rest of the team lies on their bellies, shoveling mouthfuls of snow as they wait for me. Their mouths are covered in frost. I decide to check everyone's feet while I'm at it, even though there's nothing to be done if I do find more rubs. It puts my mind at ease to see everyone else has happy paws. When that's done, I shove my frozen hands into my mitts and head back to the sled to check on Bean. His shoulder is still tender and swollen. You take good care of them, Secret, Chris says quietly. This small kindness is meant to make me feel better, I know, but it only makes my throat tighten. I lift my chin, call to the dogs, and we continue down the darkening trail. As we go, I plan how we're going to find supper. We should definitely make more tea. I could get Chris to build a fire while I set snares. Dad taught me to do that when I was 8. But what can I use? Laces from my mucklucks? Who am I kidding? I need snare wire. I stare at Bean while I think. Poor Bean. Is he getting thinner too, or is it just my imagination? My concern about feeding the dogs is ripping a hole through me. The more I think about food, the more my stomach tightens and cramps. That wolf-killed moose this morning seems like days ago. I rub at the headache between my eyebrows. It's dangerous to be working like this in the cold without food, especially now that we're wet, and especially for some of us wearing cotton jeans. We should stop here and build a fire to get dry again, but the tiny hope that we're close to finding a road makes me want to keep going while we still have some light. I peer around us and consider camping right here. Just the thought of trudging through deep snow without snowshoes to look for firewood exhausts me. I feel as weak as a newborn puppy. I'm pretty hungry, Chris says, and I'm really cold. You talk a lot for someone who burns maps. Chris looks at me sharply, and I give him a slight hip check. He mock punches me in the arm, then grabs at the handlebar again as we bump over a ridge in the trail. I watch Whistler and wonder if I should put her in the sled bag too. It will seriously slow us down, but what else can I do? We need the dogs to get us out, so I have to take care of them, but we also need to make time. Our clock is running out. The problem spins round and round in my head. I desperately wish I were a child again, riding in the sled, all wrapped up in blankets, without any responsibilities or fears. Dad would lean over and peer down at me with gentle eyes. You all snug, my little bug? He'd ask. I could let Dad worry about everything. Just watch the dogs running and enjoy the trees flashing past and dream of the day I'd be old enough to run a junior musher race. Dad could worry about his trapline and his guiding business and making enough money to feed the dogs and training the yearlings and wondering why Blister had gone off her feed and what to bring with us to stay warm and dry and how to stay vigilant for when the wild woke up angry. You'll make such a good little musher, Icky. I'm so proud of you. It seemed as if he'd always be there. After the accident, it was impossible to believe he was gone. It wasn't real. Now it seems the more I grasp at these memories, the more slippery they become. Blue glances over his shoulder at me. I feel the dogs pick up and pull harder. Something must be on the trail. I peer into the shadows ahead. The moose has haunted us for these last few hours. Every dark trunk is a charging moose. The constant worry around each corner has my nerves swollen and exposed. The dogs definitely sense something ahead. My pulse quickens. Blue looks back at me again and I stop the team. "What is it, Blue?" My stomach drops. I grab the hatchet from the sled bag and hurry up the line to stand in front of him. What am I going to do with the hatchet? I'm not sure. I keep trying to swallow down my fear as I peer down the trail. No sign of any moose, but she's still ahead somewhere. "What now?" Chris asks. "I don't know." My voice is high-pitched. I clear my throat. Let them follow behind me. I keep plodding through the snow in front of the leaders with knees that feel like putty. My tense muscles spasm in the cold, and I have to stop as a violent shiver goes through me. We creep around a sharp bend grown in with dogwood and willow, and I try to peer through the spaces between the trees. My mouth is dry. I wipe at the base of my nose. I see nothing ahead but more snow. Darkness cloaks the trail as the sky bleeds into the trees. My arm is almost numb from the death grip I have on the hatchet, and I try to relax my fingers. I switch hands and swing my arm in circles. I'm just about to turn back when a glint in the trees makes me snap my head around. It's a cabin! I press a hand over my chest as the tension drains from my body.